So now I would love to go ahead and introduce our presenter, Carolyn Ou. She's from the Brown class of '89. Carolyn was a Renaissance and Comparative Literature concentrator at Brown. She then went on to receive her MBA from the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University and her coaching certificate from the Coaches Training Institute. She's currently living in Chicago, and I might add that's where she's joining us from today, and where she is the founder of Sandbox Consulting. She is also a former management consultant, copywriter, and college dean. She works with people on the verge of playing big in their life and work. Currently, she's coaching a wide range of clients, from creatives, mompreneurs, operation managers, and communications professionals. She's helping them get out of their heads and into action around their life vision. Whether she's working with someone on their personal strategy or guiding a board of directors through a visioning exercise, she brings to the table a unique combination of her coaching approach, consulting tools, and experience. Let's welcome Carolyn Ou. Hey, Carolyn.
Thanks for the lovely introduction. I wanted to add to everyone that I wanted to mention a little bit about Sandbox Consulting. I was actually inspired by the Sandbox as a place where everyone can create and explore without fear of the results, and in doing so, enjoy the process. So the reason I called my company Sandbox Consulting is to bring out some of that simplicity, clarity, and play to people in their daily work and life. So with that said, let's get going and exploring how you can get out of your way, okay? So what I'd like to do first is take a pulse while we're on this call, and with two simple questions. And Heather is going to launch a poll while I read these questions out to you. If you do not see the poll, feel free to chat with Heather or Eve for assistance. So here's the first question. Which of the following external factors limits your career success? So is it the organization lacks a clear vision? There's lack of a clear career path within the organization? The purpose of my job is poorly articulated and defined? There's a lack of support from upper management? Inadequate training and development provided? A lack of collaboration within and across departments? Or a company culture that doesn't support innovation and creativity? And you can click as many of these that relate to you, or you can just click other. Maybe there's a whole bunch of other things that get in your way. Here's the second question. In which of the following ways do you sabotage your career success? So as I'm reading some of the answer options, by the end of that, we're going to close the poll. So go ahead and start selecting your answers now. So in which ways do you sabotage your career success? Number one, I don't have a clear vision for my career. Number two, I'm easily distracted by new ideas and projects. Number three, I have difficulty prioritizing activities and getting things done. D, I tend to keep my opinions and ideas to myself. Or E, I ignore opportunities to showcase my achievements. F, I put my needs last and serve others first. G, I don't think my ideas are ready to be heard. Or is it H, is it something else, some other way in which you sabotage your own career success? So we're going to go ahead and close the poll, and in a moment I will read the results to you. And one of the themes that I will be exploring during today's webinar is how some of the external factors we identify are really closely related to the internal ways in which we get in our way. And I'll give you an example. For example, just because you're not given a clear career path is one thing. It's another thing to decide that if it's not there, you can't create it. So let's take a look at some of the polling results. It looks like some of the top reasons, top external factors limiting a person's career success include lack of a clear career path within the organization, and also lack of support from upper management. Another one is, let's see, in third place over here, there's a lot of others, like maybe there's a whole lack of other reasons. High up there is sort of company culture doesn't support innovation and creativity. In terms of the answers to question 2, the highest rated one is the ways in which you sabotage your own career success. The number one reason is A, I don't have a clear vision of what I want to do with my career, right? I don't have a clear vision for my career. And a close second place is I ignore opportunities to showcase my achievements. And in third place, I have difficulty prioritizing activities and getting things done. So what I hope you're noticing about these full answers to the questions is that they focus on topics that relate to things like vision, like direction, support, and also relate to culture and mindset. So one thing I'm going to do today is cover stumbling blocks that we create for ourselves that affect each of those areas. With that said, let's start by looking at a great obstacle that can be affected by a lack of vision and direction. It is something I call the shiny thing syndrome. It's one of my favorites. It was the term, and my boss used to use it all the time, my former boss. So picture yourself at work. You've got that list of, 5, maybe 10 critical tasks you want to accomplish that day. And all of a sudden, it's quitting time, and whoa, you haven't gotten anything done on that list. You have been hit by a case of the shiny thing syndrome. Shiny things are tasks and activities that will distract you from tackling the more meaningful work. They're short-term tasks. They distract you from the more longer-term, bigger picture goals. People who suffer from the shiny thing syndrome are really good workhorses. For example, they can be really good at resolving things via email, responding to emails, constantly, putting out fires, organizing and managing tactical activities. Hopefully they're not always on Facebook, right? At the same time, this can mean that they are the ones who get stuck behind their desk all day. They can get passed over for promotions or might be given the less strategic projects, even if they're supposed to be developing as leaders in the organization. The shiny thing syndrome can be caused by the following: a lack of a clear and guiding vision for your career or your role within the organization. Or maybe there is a vision, but it comes with goals that are inadequate and uninspiring. For example, for those of you who selected one of the answers, the purpose of my job is poorly defined and articulated from that poll we just took, you might find that this results in your tendency to just focus on what's in front of you at work. Without clarity on how you can create value in your job, ultimately you're going to end up doing what others consider important. Perhaps you end up doing all the things that the client needed yesterday. Right? How many times have you heard that? The client needed this yesterday, but they just came up with it today, right? Or it might be a director who has yet another new project to launch. In many cases, a company might have a clear vision, but at your level, at the employee level, the related job goal is uninspiring and motivating. Now, we get in our own way when we just accept that this is the way it's going to be, that this is our goal, our uninspiring and our heavy and burdensome goal. Now, just accepting it is a great way to ensure a lack of progress in any direction. So what can you do? What can you do when you have a goal like that, one that's really heavy? Let's talk about it. You make it resonate. You turn it into an inspiring one. And here's how. And I'm going to use a real-world example from one of my clients. It's been slightly modified to maintain confidentiality, and I have received permission to use it, just in case you're wondering. And this is an example of a typical goal. It's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based, pretty SMART, if you know that acronym as far as SMART goals goal. And it's I'm going to make business B profitable by the end of third quarter 2012. In this example, my client was running two related businesses. Business A, the core business, which was highly profitable, and was essentially subsidizing business B, a newer venture that was turning out to be more about connecting to the local community and serving some of its needs. Being a people pleaser, this particular business owner was finding herself focusing too much time on business B and not enough time on business A. So it was a given that she wanted to grow her overall businesses. At the same time, having Business B become profitable, having that as a guideline for her, as a goal for her, it just felt too big for her. It had her feeling very overwhelmed, not knowing which direction to go, and also not feeling very motivated about Business B, as that was not really her core business. So we dug a little, we brainstormed, and we came up with a simple, yet both personally and professionally motivating goal for her. So here's what the new one looks like. I'm going to become the go-to subject matter expert for X, Y, and Z media sources by the end of 2012. It's very different from I'm going to make Business be profitable. So what this was about, this new goal, was about returning her focus to her core business, the business which involved creating opportunities and growth for people through language, through learning and training. This was also about really shifting the focus of her efforts back to Business A. It was a business that was more profitable and was much more aligned with the owner's personal developmental goals, becoming an expert in the field rather than just a tactician. So not only did this goal make more sense to her strategically, but it really resonated with her. It was more inspiring, and as a result, it was more top of mind. We also did some things to make sure she always kept it top of mind, like posting it really big in her office. This allowed her to start letting go of her own shiny things. And some of her own shiny things were things like changing the paper in the copier, ordering toilet paper, managing contracts, filing. That she's the president of the company. She doesn't need to be doing this. So we switched up those shiny things for some really appealing activities, trying to speak at more conferences, developing strategic partnerships, and other more significant ventures. So you can see we took it from a goal that was just overwhelming and didn't really resonate with her to one that was much more personally motivating and, no matter what, would result in the success of her business. So here's another example of how this can work. This goal is, I'm going to get promoted to partner this year. So for this particular client, being a partner was not necessarily about the title or the position or the money, although those are definitely nice benefits. Being a partner was going to be about being able to finally have a seat at the table, finally being able to take on a different role at the firm, one which would allow the individual to be thinking strategically, using their entrepreneurial skills, and doing more than just consulting for clients. So really, being promoted to partner wasn't actually the motivating idea for this person. And so he wasn't really working towards this. He's like, I don't really want to be a partner in many ways. So that's a whole nother discussion. So what we did was we turned it into something more appealing to him. I'm going to launch a new practice area at my firm by spring 2012. So different from just wanting to be a partner. This was about being to tap into creativity, innovation, his business skills, his strategy skills, his people skills, his sales skills, just really being able to tap into this whole person, not just the client-facing consultant. So I hope you can see by looking at these two examples that, what we did was we kind of looked behind, what was behind that first goal? Why do we even put this first goal down? And what's really behind that? What's the piece behind that that's motivating? And to find a vision or a goal that's more motivating and able to keep you from even looking at those shiny things. It's amazing how having something motivating like this will allow you to be like, you know what, I'm only going to check email twice a day because I have more important things to do, unless email is critical to your job. So now I want to give you an assignment. Hello? Okay. Okay, so now I want to give you an assignment, and try to do this right now if you can. Identify a career and business goal of your own that has got you stuck, and revise it in a way that's going to make it more meaningful and motivating for you. And you'll see throughout this webinar that I really love to give homework, because I used to teach, so I will be giving lots of assignments. So as you're doing this, remember to look behind the surface and identify the bigger picture behind the goal. And if it came to you right away, please go ahead and use your chat box, and we will read off a few examples. Remember, as you work on it, tap into something that's resonant behind that original goal. Like, why did you even create that original goal? What were you hoping to achieve? Tap into your passions, your strengths and interests in a way that's motivating, that makes you sit up in your seat. Now, you do want to keep it relevant to your long-term picture, your bigger vision, but it doesn't have to be deadening. So, Heather, do we have any examples that have come in?
Hey, Carolyn, I just wanted to say I love those two examples. The fact that it's so easy to get bogged down and not really see what our real goal is, and to move forward with that. Someone just submitted that they weren't that happy in their job, and they thought what their goal was to change jobs by the age of 30. And what they just wrote was, but I think what it really is to finish writing a book idea that I've had by the age 30. So that seems like really tapped into their motivation was, I want to be writing.
Yeah, and I've seen lots of goals like that. A lot of people are in jobs where they're not allowed to be very creative or tap into that creative side of their brain. And so they're frustrated. So they think the answer is to just change jobs, right? Because they're feeling the frustration. They're pretty sure it's around creativity, and so they think maybe I'll just go get a more creative job. But that's a great. I'm glad that person came up with that. What they're realizing is it's not just about changing jobs. I could change a job, and still this idea, this book idea that I've had on my mind forever, still isn't going to happen just because I changed jobs. So I've heard that story a lot. So that's a great way to change a goal that seems kind of broad. I'm going to change careers, right? Oh my gosh, there's so many careers out there. To focusing on the creativity piece, making that book come to life, getting it out, right? Making it real. Wonderful.
So Carolyn, I've gotten one more. Let's see. So someone's saying I need more speaking engagements. Written articles is a good goal to get me highlighted by important search firms in my field. I've neglected some of the, exemplary workers in my current job. So people are sort of seeing from your examples. Another person says my original goal was, 500K originations. Now they see that the motivation was really more security and motivation, security and money. So people are really thinking about these things.
Oh, wonderful. I love that, right? Like wanting to get the 500K, but it's like, you know what? I'm really wanting security, some kind. And so really in rejiggering that goal, start redefining or clarifying what security means to you, what security and stability will look like. And it ends up being about more than money, and it can be more motivating once you kind of clarify that. So wonderful. Thank you to everybody who submitted some ideas, and we'll continue to give you opportunities to submit through the chat with every obstacle and technique that we practice. So great, taking a goal in which you've been stuck and rejiggering it, making it more meaningful and motivating. So the next sorry.
So we're ready to move to the next idea.
Yes. So the next obstacle that I like to talk about is one I call stinginess. So, and this can definitely interfere with change and progress and growth. And the reason I call it stinginess is because sometimes we keep our best ideas and our best thoughts to ourselves, right? Ideas on how to improve a process, doubts about how a new system that's being adopted will actually benefit the organization, or even a desire to push back on the relevance of a new initiative. Does that sound familiar to people out there? How many times have you kind of squelched what you want to say? And there are a number of reasons that we keep this high level of secrecy and keep things in our own safe little silo. And you might be familiar with some of these thoughts, and these are just some of the many reasons we might stop ourselves from speaking up. One, they won't understand. Right? I'll put it out there. No one's going to understand. Maybe it's a new idea that you completely have thought out, but if the culture doesn't support innovation, they won't understand. Why bother, right? Another one is like, well, I have this new idea for myself, but if I share it and then I fail, people will think I'm a loser. So maybe I'll keep it to myself, because if I fail, then no one will know about it. It'll just be my own little secret. Another reason people don't share, it's not going to work anyway, so why bother? Like, I had a great idea, but you know what, I'm sure it won't work, or I'm sure I'll find out from everyone else that it won't work, so I'm not even going to bother risking my reputation, right? Or putting my ego on the line, or just putting my creativity and integrity on the line. So we do this for so many reasons. We're protecting our reputation, we're protecting our ego, we're protecting our confidence. And those are certainly good reasons to keep things to yourself. It's almost like what we've heard in the past. Why don't you make sure you under-promise and over-deliver? And I think that's just a way of lowering the bar. Right? Who made that up anyway? I need to talk to him. So these are all definitely legitimate reasons to be stingy with your ideas. And you're certainly welcome to do this. However, by keeping all these things a secret, you can also guarantee the following: that you're going to be alone in accomplishing things or not accomplishing them. And that you get to perpetuate that lack of support from upper management that might be on your list of constant complaints. And that was one of the answers from the poll we started with. It's also very likely that you'll fail to produce the results you want, because you'll have failed to tap into the ideas, resources, and information from all of those around you. And equally importantly, you'll prevent yourself from creating the champions you need to truly succeed in this world. The mentors, coaches, colleagues, and friends who can provide you with valuable perspectives, input, and support. And I'll give a really quick example, because last night I delivered a workshop in a similar topic. And a person gave an example of, I never wanted to tell anyone what kind of job I wanted. I was just kind of didn't want to bother people with it. So there's that whole thing like, I don't want to bother anyone, so I'm just going to keep it to myself. And she said, but I happened to be talking to a total stranger one day, and all of a sudden she had 3 job leads for me, and they led to 2 interviews. So it's so funny, just by even sharing with a stranger, you can really shift the kind of support and ideas and championing you have in your life. So let's take another moment to submit things in your chat box. And if there's a goal or an idea or a thought you've been keeping to yourself, put it in the chat box. And in a moment, I'll tell you what to do with it. Okay? So what's the antidote to being stingy? Yes, Heather.
I just thought of a question, but I want to wait until after I hear this, because this might answer my question.
Oh, I'm going to read your mind and answer your question. So, so the antidote to stinginess is to generously share. Because sharing a goal generously does a few things. It's a powerful way of committing to something. It creates a higher level of accountability for yourself, and also sometimes for the others with whom you share. And really, it makes it real. It makes it come to life. You put it out there with your word, and it becomes real. And I will give you a couple of examples of instances in which people generously shared. A neighbor of mine is a 13-year-old, and she is a member of the group Girls on the Run, which is a wonderful organization for elementary school girls, teaching them not only that they can run, but they can do anything that they put their minds to. So one summer, she had the goal of running every day that summer, increasingly longer distances. And she just started telling everyone she knew. She told me, she told her friends, she told people she met. And so I remember noticing that on the first day, I saw her running on her own. On the second day, I saw her running with her friend. On the third day, she was running with her friend and my neighbor's 2 kids who were ages 6 and 8, and who actually ran a half mile with her. And then on the next day, she was running with the 2 kids, her friend, and the kid's father, and they all ran even further. And I half expected that by the end of the month, she would be running with the whole neighborhood. So what she could have done, instead of sharing her goal, was kept it to herself, because she wasn't typically a sort of a fitness person. She was much more academic, so she might have said, I'm not going to share this goal, because what if I fail? So instead, she shared it very generously. And in doing so, got support for her running. She got lots of running partners. And she actually, in the process, inspired other people along the way. So that's a very sort of kind of everyday example of how you can share. So now let's take a look at an example in a work environment. So in this example, one of my clients, who's a very talented web programmer in a professional services firm, was frustrated by his lack of opportunity to use his more creative and conceptual talents. because he had originally hoped to go into film and animation, but the marketplace and demands of a family had led him elsewhere. So during a session with one of his own internal career coaches, he was actually told that because he was hired as a technical expert, as a programmer, never to say words like artistic or creative, because that wasn't the reason he was brought into the firm. That was not the purpose of his existence there. So my client and I decided to challenge this rule, with this unspoken rule. And we decided it was time to do some rebranding of his image in ways that would not endanger his job. And I say that because, the whole workplace environment is very fear-driven right now. And previously, he had kept most of his ideas to himself, kept his head down, did his job. The initial fear was that if he started to speak up and talk about more artistic or conceptual endeavors, they would assume that his future direction wasn't relevant to the firm and that he'd be laid off immediately as a result. And it's not surprising. A lot of people think that, oh my God, if I say this, they're going to lay me off in the next round. No doubt about it. So, and it's so unfortunate that that's the environment out there. So he and I decided to start planting some seeds. And what he started to do was have some simple and casual conversations with key people about areas he had studied in depth. And he started to even put forth a business idea he had devised that could possibly shift the way the industry operated. So with each conversation, he found interest and energy in the person he was talking with. And with each new conversation, he started to find support. And in fact, right now, he's putting together a proposal as requested by a C-level executive at the firm. So now, instead of just being this programmer, he is now establishing a reputation as a creative and strategic thinker, someone who can use technology and creativity to make a difference in the business. Not only that, but he's developing a network of champions, something he felt he didn't have before these conversations began. So while he didn't share generously, like insanely generously like my teenage friend, he started sharing methodically, simply, and consistently. So this week, I encourage you to share your most precious stream with an individual or a group. You can start simple with the people you trust most. And if you've already been doing that, see what happens when you expand that network. So let's take a moment to read some of the goals that have been submitted, goals that people haven't been sharing. Okay.
Carolyn, I've gotten a few goals here.
Okay.
One was I would really like to write a children's book. Another one was that I really need to create a new director's role in my firm so that I can turn over some of the marketing.
So
those
that's
great
I'm
goals.
ready to let go of this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, any others?
There was a couple of great comments that I wanted to mention. One was that I don't share because I feel like I'm lacking skills. And another one was that sometimes I feel like I overshare. Sometimes I get good feedback, but sometimes it feels like I'm oversharing. Made me wonder, sometimes how do I know who's the right person to share with? How do I know sometimes I might shoot down my goals? How do I share with people who aren't going to sabotage me? So it just seems to be aware.
Yeah, and that's really, it's interesting. So that topic brings to mind actually the next technique I'm going to talk about, because it's true, sometimes we subconsciously pick people who we know are going to shut us down, right? Sometimes we select a group or, somehow self-select groups that will buy into however it is we're feeling about ourselves. So the person who said, I don't have enough skills or I'm not qualified to share, right? Like, who am I to share? Might share with people who will treat her that way, him or her that way. Yeah, who are you to say this to me? What do you know? So that leads to our next topic, which is going to be about gremlins. It's a term that was coined by a man named Rick Carson, who wrote a book called Taming Your Gremlin. So before we move on to gremlins, I just want to make sure that people know, if you didn't just share a goal with us via chat, and we've actually already started you sharing by anonymously sharing your goals. So next, what you get to do with that goal is actually identify whom you're going to share it with within your circle and by when. And I want you to do that. Notice the results and how it feels, and tell me whether or not the world ended when you did that, okay? So, but back to Gremlins, this is really one of my favorite obstacles to success. So let's say you're getting ready to start making those calls to those key strategic partners who will truly help you turn the business around. But then something comes up with a team member and you defer it for a day. And then you happen to get some new clients, so you delay it for another and another and another. And finally you decide it's not going to happen because there's not enough time. Call this what you want, the voice of reality, your inner critic, a time management issue, or a gremlin. Regardless of what you call it, this could be a mindset that is keeping you from moving forward. Now, I want you to know that gremlins are not bad necessarily. They often cause us to develop our strongest skills. For example, the gremlin known as your way is best has created some really independent and self-reliant people in this world. And you all may be one of them, right? If you think your way is best, then, you're really good because you're good at proving that your way is best. And that actually can be an asset in many situations. At the same time, gremlins can keep us in our comfort zone, keep us safe, and prevent real transformation from happening. So what do you do when you're besieged by gremlins? Well, here's what to do. First of all, you call it out, and you acknowledge it. And I'm going to demonstrate this with an example of one of my own gremlins. So this gremlin of mine is an ancient one, and it might be related to some of your own gremlins. So whenever I've done anything well, whether perform well in my job, achieve something great as a person or as a professional or as a parent, this gremlin has been wonderful at diminishing the accomplishment. In fact, 100% of the time, it would tell me that whatever I did was not good enough, that I could have done better. And I actually owe this gremlin some thanks. I owe this gremlin thanks to my commitment to excellence, because if this gremlin was always saying not good enough, I was always trying to do better. I've always been trying to do better, do it better. How can I do it better next time? How can I make this process better? How can I make this communication better? To this gremlin, I also owe the thanks that I can tackle anything I put my mind to. Because if I even start trying to do something, it's like, do it better, do it better, do it better. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep doing it. At the same time, there are some things I'd be better off without. So no thanks, gremlin. I don't appreciate the fact that I feel like I don't deserve. I don't deserve anything. And I don't appreciate the inability to actually celebrate my accomplishments. To accomplish something and to just sit there with it and celebrate it being accomplished rather than moving on to okay, well, the next time we do this, how can we do it better? Right? How many of us deny ourselves that moment of pure celebration without criticism, troubleshooting, problem-solving, planning for the future? So as my coach and I worked with this gremlin, we started to hear its voice, its stock phrases, do better. It started to say things like, so we've already covered the words not good enough, could have done better, why didn't you try harder? And finally, it started to come to me that this gremlin had a different name. It wasn't one of these phrases. The name of this gremlin was Tiger Mom. And with all due respect to my mom, this is just the name of my gremlin. It's actually no reflection on my mom, who was only just like a mini tiger mom. So once I was able to capture the essence of this gremlin in the name, it became easy and actually fun to spot when the gremlin was running the show. And so in managing my gremlin, I decided to send her on vacation. And my conversation with my tiger mom gremlin went something like this. Tiger Mom, you have done a super job. You've helped me achieve great things. I've become quite committed to excellence. People know me for my ability to do anything I want to and to also help them continue to achieve great things. However, I'm entering into a new period where I'd like to sort of try these on my own. I think you've worked so hard, you deserve a rest. So Tiger Mom, I'm giving you a one-way ticket to Hawaii. I'd love for you to take a vacation. You deserve it, Tiger Mom. You've worked really hard. So take a vacation, and when you're feeling rested, come back, and we'll find something we can do together. And so, this is just kind of a fanciful conversation, but it's actually a wonderful way of self-management. Tiger Mom is something I do to myself. It's a voice, it's a mindset that I either buy into or I can push aside. So by actually sending her on a vacation, it's a fun way of saying, okay, right now I'm not listening to Tiger Mom. Tiger Mom is not running the show, and I'm going to make decisions from a different point of view. So naming your gremlin is a really wonderful way to not only call it out, make it real for yourself, but to disempower it. And it also allows you to manage it and know when it's running the show. And that leads me to another assignment I have for you. And so if you could, if actually some gremlins and phrases have popped into your head, please go ahead and share some of them via the chat box. And do that as I tell you what your last assignment is, because I always have to give assignments. I think I've given you 3 now. This will make it a good 3 assignments. And your assignment in the next week or 2 weeks or month is to name that gremlin, right? And here's how you can do it. Identify an area in which you're stuck and write down the thoughts that have been stopping you, right? Now consider,
hey, Carolyn.
Oh, sure, yes.
We have gotten a lot of gremlins coming in, so I thought maybe I could just name a few of those to you.
Okay, well, let me read to step 5, and then we'll name the gremlins, okay?
Okay, great.
Thanks. Okay, so step 3, are there other areas of your life in which the same thoughts have dominated? And if the answer is yes, then you've definitely spotted a gremlin. Step 4, give the thing a name, draw it, send it away for a week. And then step 5, share your learning with someone. So I'm so excited. Heather said we've gotten lots of names of gremlins. So let's hear them. Who's out there?
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Carolyn. I was just reading them, and it's like, wow, we're getting a lot of things out here.
That's exciting.
One of my favorite ones is one of the blames. Why don't you just?
Oh, yeah.
Feeling like not enough education. I don't have the right degree. That sort of voice in your head. The worst case scenario person. The me last voice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The terrible supervisor gremlin.
Oh, yeah. And then there's down. I heard someone wrote downer dad, like downer gremlin, like droopy. It's almost like droopy. Why bother?
Yeah, these are all great ones coming in here.
Wonderful. So I'm glad that people are starting to get a sense of, okay, here are the gremlins that have been running my show. So what you get to do is really start noticing when that gremlin is just calling all the shots. When it's, gremlins can keep you in a safe place, but they can also keep you from making real change. So if there's an area in which you've been really stuck, whether it's work or family or fun or fitness or money, take a look at what the gremlin's doing. And here's actually, here's another thing you can do with it. Write down, in the area of career, when I follow this gremlin, here's what the results are. And there will be both positive and negative results. And then brainstorm on, if I choose to stop listening to this gremlin, here are the things I really want to do and try. And just see what the difference is between listening to the gremlin and also just having the gremlin focus on something else. It's funny, I kind of feel like some of the gremlins were probably in the webinar with us. Because as you're listening to someone say stuff, sometimes your gremlin will be commenting like, oh, she's crazy. Who is she to say this? I can't do that. That's not going to work for me, right? I bet there's lots of gremlins here. And it reminds me of that earlier comment, the question Heather asked about, what if when you share with people, they just shoot you down? So what I want to point out about that is sometimes when we are sharing things and we're getting that kind of negative feedback, consider that it's possible that other people's gremlins might be the ones responding to you. So you're actually having a conversation with gremlins rather than a conversation with your true self and with the other folks' true selves. So think about that the next time you're in a conversation that's just so non-supportive, and see if you can shift the energy. Send all those gremlins on vacation together on a cruise ship. So I hope you've gotten a sense of how our habits, our mindsets, the rules that we buy into are ways in which we can really block our forward motion. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've covered the shiny thing syndrome and how you can take an uninspiring goal and shift it into something more resonant and motivating. We've covered stinginess, the tendency to keep things to yourself as a protective measure, but the benefits of sharing generously. We've covered gremlins, how they can run the show, especially when you let them, and how you can call them out, identify them, send them away. And I've given you 3 assignments, create a goal that does resonate for you. Share something with somebody. Name your gremlin and do something with it. And you don't have to do all of them. Do the one that calls to you most, the one that's most appealing, the one that you think will most help you get unstuck, right? So I hope you've gotten some takeaways that you can apply the minute you leave this call. And Heather, I think we have time for some questions. Is that right?
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay.
Thanks, Carolyn. This has been some wonderful information. A question that came in, and it's one that I've thought about. Can you talk about the distinction of working with a mentor versus working with a coach? And how do you know when it's time to maybe tackle an issue with a coach?
So it's interesting, if you look at all the stuff that's written out there, there's still a little bit of confusion around coaching and mentoring. And so what I like to say is that mentoring is more of a personal relationship that you create, and coaching is more of that professional objective relationship that is focused on performance, and it's usually focused on an agenda and getting you to that point, and moving you towards that agenda. I know that in many cases a person might pick out a mentor who is an industry expert, who's got that years of experience or has that subject matter expertise. And people like to tap into mentors because they're their role models, but they want that personal guidance and the connections, the role modeling, and the relationship. So a coach, on the other hand, can be that objective person where you can bring some, several focused issues and work towards achieving them. Now, the truth is, there are coaches who mentor. There are mentors who use coaching techniques to help their mentees. So there's a lot of that. And what I think is really important is to decide, what do you want out of each relationship? And to define it with that person, whether the person is a mentor or a coach, so that everyone knows what the expectations are, and so your coach or mentor knows that they'll be able to deliver on whatever you want them to deliver on. So a lot of those guidelines around how you set up the relationship and what your motivation is. But in general, I like to draw the line at, there's the personal relationship is more mentoring, and the performance-related relationship is around coaching. Great. Any other questions?
There's lots coming in here. I'm trying to scroll through.
Okay.
Here's one. How do you determine whether it is really time to change jobs, or if there's still things that you can do to make this the job you want to keep? A lot of these are just questions that, they have a lot of thought, and I think they're going to take going through some of your own sort of analysis, right?
Yeah, and you know what I like to say, and people definitely come to me with those kinds of questions all the time. I'm in this job. It's not working for me. What do I do? Do I change jobs, or do I make the best of it here? And because of the economy, a lot of folks are almost wanting to make the best of where they are, because it is a little scary to take that step out. So what I like to do is take a few steps back with a person. Let's step back to what's been important to them throughout all their life. What are the things they've cherished in terms of their work opportunities? What is the kind of life that they want to be leading? What are the values that they're living? Sometimes when you dig down to, the values that drive you, maybe the things that are most important for you on a daily basis are, and I'm just going to make this up off the top of my head, are, integrity, creativity, play, innovation, and, and balance, right? So let's say someone has those 5 values as their guideposts for their life. What you can do is you take those and you take a look at your job. And rate it. You can just rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. How innovative is this environment? How much integrity am I able to live in this environment? How much creativity, how much fun and how much balance am I getting? And you can just actually quantitatively assess that for yourself and say, and what's it worth to me? And what might be on the other side of it? Like, which of these pieces is so out of whack that I need to make a shift? And then you can start brainstorming, like, what's possible to achieve within the job? And is that enough? And then what might be possible outside of the job? So that's just a little bit about how you can start to answer that question. And yes, it is a very big question.
One of the themes I seem to be getting here with the questions is, any other ways of getting in your way that you see that you want to shout out to us. And basically the questions are resources. How about, telling us again the name of the Gremlin book, resources for sort of working on these skills. Are there any resources you want to throw out there for us, Carolyn?
So the Gremlin book is called Taming Your Gremlin. It's by someone named Rick Carson. And I tap into so many different resources. There's another one called Leadership from Within, which is actually, if you're sort of in a leadership role, is a great way of getting a sense of who you are as a leader and how you want to put yourself out there. I think a lot of the times the ways we really get in our way is by not taking the time to figure out who we are and how we want to be on a daily basis. Like, how do we want to be as a leader? How do we want to be as a manager? How do we want to be as a colleague? And what does that mean in terms of where we're headed? So the more you can sort of focus on where you are, the better. Another book that's been wonderful is Seth Godin's Linchpin, which really talks about identifying how you can be valuable in this new world that we're in, right? How can you be the linchpin in an organization and start to define your value? So the more you start to play around with that and read and also have conversations with people, find a mentor or find a coach or find a group of people with like-minded interests, the more you can get that kind of feedback and conversation going, I think the better equipped you'll be to start getting out of your way.
Carolyn, this is great information. And I think we have a few more questions coming in, but I am noticing the time. On our website, and I'm going to have all that information, there is a link to Carolyn's website, and I know she always has lots of great information on her site, plus some of our information on the career websites that might be helpful. Just to let you know, we do offer a tool of services. They are grouped together called the Career Navigator, and this was a group of tools that we put together when we were looking at updating the job board. We're not a full-service career center, but we just wanted to be helpful by offering a set of tools to accompany the job board that looked at the career change process, such as assessing your skills, strengths, background, researching career fields or companies, or developing networks. So we have 4 main areas that we tried to give you a little more information, a little more tools. The assessment area, we have a tool called Focus. That's an easy, basic assessment tool where you can evaluate your skills and strengths. This tool is really best for young alums, although it really does provide some insight for all users, and it has a pretty nice goal-setting section, which I like. Then, of course, to augment this, we have added our coaching program, which we've really been excited about, and we've gotten lots of great reviews. This is really your resource for the more complex career questions, all the questions that Carolyn's talking about, for burnout issues, looking at executive development, working on your gremlins, such as difficulty building professional relationships and championing your ideas. The next big area is research. We have to gather information so that we can talk knowledgeably about industries. Our tool, Career Search, is a great tool for locating businesses, vetting the general health of a company. It's also a good resource for finding contacts. Our big new push has been the job board. We, from the inception, have had over 300 active jobs. And what we did is we took the best parts of the old listserv, such as being able to receive weekly updates, the ability to be a passive job searcher, which people seem to really love, and then combined it with many new features such as employer contact lists, easy resume uploading, alumni connections, resume books, things like that. In addition, it also has a really easy posting format, so you alums out there who know of jobs, share your postings. And jobs really come in and go off almost every day, so I would encourage any of you interested to sign up and set up some search agents. And then our last big tool is networking. Brown is your professional network. Brunette is your Brown professional network, and the attractiveness of Brunette is that this is a list of people who've said, I really want to help. I am out there for you. Plus, you have an extra level of commonality with these contacts through your shared Brown activities. A broader list of Brown networks is a LinkedIn community. We have several industry groups that you could join. So I would encourage you to check out all of these services on our website. Just want to let you know that a couple of other services we are offering is more career coaching webinars. The next one will be Millennials Transition to the Workplace by Danny Tipton-Koplik in October. And the next one after that is going to be Personal Brand Online, Leveraging Online Networks. That's going to be done by Megan Fitzgerald, and she's coming to us from Rome, so that's going to be fun. And there's lots of other services out there. Also, as I mentioned, if you want to get in touch with Carolyn, here is her contact information, and it's also on our page of webinars and coaches programs. If you have any other questions, you can contact us at the Brown Alumni Programs. You can contact me or Eve Ornstead at alumni.brown.edu careers. Thank you for joining the webinar today. This has been our first in this series, and we hope you will come back. We appreciate you attending today, and please let us know if you have any feedback.